Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at a part 1 topic, sharing. You'll hear 2 full mock interviews from 2 different speakers. Both sound natural and fluent, but they approach the questions in slightly different ways. Let's jump straight into the first mock interview.
Do you like sharing things with other people? Why or why not?
Yes, I do, especially with people I trust. Sharing makes relationships feel more equal and relaxed. However, I'm a bit selective because I don't think everything needs to be shared with everyone.
Have your parents taught you to share things?
Yes, they did, and it was something they emphasized when I was growing up. For example, I was encouraged to share food and toys with others, especially guests. Over time, it just became a habit.
What kinds of things are not suitable for sharing?
I think very personal information like private conversations or financial details shouldn't be shared. It can easily lead to misunderstandings or even hurt someone's trust. Other people's secrets are also a clear boundary for me.
Have you shared anything with others recently?
Yes, I have. I recently shared my lecture notes with a friend who couldn't attend class. It was a small thing, but it helped him catch up quickly.
Is it common for people in your culture to share food?
Yes, it's extremely common. When people eat together, they usually order several dishes and share everything. In fact, not sharing food might be seen as a bit impolite.
Is there anything you don't like sharing? Why?
I don't like sharing my phone or laptop. They contain personal information, and I'm quite careful about my privacy. I feel more comfortable keeping those things to myself.
Do you usually share your personal problems with friends or family?
Only with a small circle of people. I'm not the type to talk about my problems openly, but I do share them when I need advice or emotional support. It really depends on how serious the issue is.
Do you think sharing is important for maintaining good relationships?
Yes, absolutely. Sharing time, effort, and support helps people feel valued. Without that, relationships can easily become distant or unbalanced over time.
Have you ever had a negative experience because of sharing something?
Yes, once I shared an opinion online and it was taken out of context, it led to unnecessary arguments, which I didn't expect. Since then, I've been more cautious about what I post.
Do you think people today are more willing to share than in the past?
I think they are more willing to share on social media, especially daily activities and opinions. However, when it comes to personal feelings or real problems, people seem more guarded. So in some ways, sharing has increased, but in others, it hasn't.
That was a really strong performance from Joseph. He keeps his responses focused and easy to follow, and he explains his ideas without overcomplicating them. This is a great example of how to sound natural and confident in part 1. Now let's look at a second mock interview with a slightly more expressive speaking style. Do you like sharing things with other people? Why or why not?
To be honest, it really depends on what it is. I'm generally quite a generous person, and I love the sense of community that comes with sharing, especially with my close friends. That said, and I'm also a bit of a neat freak, so if it's something I'm particularly protective of, I might be a little more hesitant.
Have your parents taught you to share things?
Oh, absolutely. Growing up, my parents were quite firm about sharing is caring. I have a younger sibling, so squabbles over toys were a daily occurrence. They really instilled in us the idea that being selfish doesn't get you very far, and that things are often more fun when they're enjoyed together.
What kinds of things are not suitable for sharing?
I'd say anything related to personal hygiene is a hard no for me. Things like toothbrushes or even makeup brushes. It's just a bit unsanitary. On a more digital note, I'm very private about my passwords and banking details. In this day and age, sharing that kind of info is just asking for trouble.
Have you shared anything with others recently?
Actually, just last weekend. I'm a bit of a bookworm and I finished a thriller I'd been raving about. A friend was dying to read it, so I lent it to her. I'm always a bit nervous about dog-eared pages, but it's better than letting the book sit on my shelf.
Is it common for people in your culture to share food?
Definitely, it's a huge part of our social fabric. Whether it's ordering tapas at a restaurant or bringing a plate to a potluck, sharing food is how we bond. It turns a meal into more of an event, not just about eating.
Is there anything you don't like sharing? Why?
I'm quite particular about my laptop. Since I use it for literally everything, work, creative projects, personal finances, it feels like an extension of my brain. I'm always worried someone might accidentally delete something or mess with my settings, so I tend to be a bit territorial over it.
Do you usually share your personal problems with friends or family?
I'm lucky to be very close with both, but it depends on the vibe of the problem. If it's something work-related, I'll usually vent to my friends because they're going through similar things. But if I'm dealing with a bigger life dilemma, I usually turn to my mom. She has this way of putting things into perspective that no one else can.
Do you think sharing is important for maintaining good relationships?
100%. And I think sharing creates a sense of reciprocity and trust. It's not just about material things either. It's about sharing your time, your thoughts, and your space. If a relationship is totally one-sided, it eventually starts to feel quite hollow and disconnected.
Have you ever had a negative experience because of sharing something?
I have, actually. A few years ago, I lent a designer dress to a friend for a wedding, and it came back with a massive red wine stain. She was really apologetic, but it was still a bit awkward to navigate. It taught me to be a bit more discerning about who I trust with my more expensive items.
Do you think people today are more willing to share than in the past?
That's an interesting one. In some ways, yes. We have the sharing economy now with things like ride-sharing apps and co-working spaces. However, I think we've become much more guarded with our personal lives and data. So, while we share resources more efficiently, we might be sharing our true selves a little less than people did in the past.
That's a totally different vibe from Blondie. Her answers are more expressive and story-driven. She brings a lot of personality into how she responds, using idiomatic language and personal examples to keep things engaging. This shows that there isn't just one correct way to answer. What matters is sounding genuine and fluent. Before we wrap up, let's look at some useful vocabulary you can use when talking about sharing. Let's start with vocabulary for describing how you personally feel about sharing. For example, you might say, "I'm generally quite generous, especially with close friends." If you want to show limits, you could say, "I'm selective about what I share depending on the situation." To explain boundaries, try something like, "I'm quite protective of my belongings," or "I really value my privacy." Sharing is often connected to relationships, and the phrases on this slide help you explain that connection clearly. For instance, you could say, "Sharing helps build trust between people," or "It makes relationships feel more equal and balanced." You can also say, "Sharing time and support strengthens relationships." For questions about limits, it's useful to talk about what should not be shared. A natural answer might be, "I don't think personal information or financial details should be shared." You could also say, "Private conversations and other people's secrets are clear boundaries for me." These phrases help you sound thoughtful and responsible. Finally, part 1 works best when you use simple, everyday examples. You might say, "In my culture, people often share food when they eat together." Or, "I recently lent something to a friend who needed it." Even small actions work well, like, "I helped a classmate catch up after they missed a lesson." So that's today's lesson on the topic of sharing. If you found it helpful and want more in-depth practice, you can join the channel membership for extra speaking content. I'll see you in the next lesson.